This is TWiT.
All right, so big news day. A couple of things first here. For a couple of things before we get into the first top news story. Number one, I would like to just to lay the groundwork. After 10 years of doing all about Android, it seems like we have finally been able to sync up with Google PR, which I'm glad to see. That's something that they know to get something out before Tuesday night so that we can talk about it. So that's very, very good. Secondarily, I'm going to tell you all about the news about the Google Pixel 6 and the Google Pixel 6 Pro. But before I do, I would like to, Burke, do you have a sad trombone sound effect or something like that?
Probably.
Maybe. Oh, we have a bell. It's not a sad trombone. Yeah. That's a rim shot. How about a sad trombone? There you go.
Okay, that works. There we go.
We want to remember the sad trombone after we look at pictures of the Google Pixel 6 and remind Flo of the comments she made about it, about the renders. So there we go. So getting into this, yesterday on Monday, we started the week off with Google going ahead and unveiling the Pixel 6 and the Pixel 6 Pro. And it was revealed that Google is aiming for the top of the line premium level phone here, likely to be $1,000 or more in terms of purchase price. And for those of you watching the video, you saw the photos of the phones, all those leaks that we talked about a few weeks ago about how the phone looked, of which Flo said she did not believe were real, were in fact real. Sad trombone.
Wow, wow, wow.
Sorry, Flo.
Look, the reality. My buddy Heather Kelly, they look like burglars.
I can see that.
Oh,
yeah, they look like burglars.
The cartoonish, like the cartoonish, version of
right.
Yeah. They also look like some sort of like one of my mother's old makeup kits. Like I feel like they'll flip up and there'll be like eyeliner and stuff like that underneath it or something.
I think it's really exciting that we're not going to need car mounts for these, because like that little shelf you got, you can just hang it right on your your car vent and it'll just hang there.
Very utilitarian of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
So the nature of the announcement and the unveiling of these was mainly because these are the first phones with the new Google Tensor system on a chip, integrated system on a chip, SoC, the Google made chip, which is the trend. Apple's doing it, Samsung's doing it, now Google's doing it. And it has a focus on AI and machine learning performance, of course, because Google. Data center level AI models running locally on the chip, which is crazy. And some things that we can look forward to thanks to this: unblurring faces when a photo is taken of someone in motion. On the device, by the way, not like post-processing. Like that's crazy. 4K, 30 frame per second recorded video that equals or surpasses the quality found on the iPhone 12 Pro Max. Real-time captions and translation in real time. And the demo went from French to English, which is crazy. And the 6 Pro has a 3-camera array, while the 6 has a 2-camera array minus the telephoto lens. So, Russell, I want to hear what you think about this. But before we do that, Flo, what do you have to say for yourself?
How much do I owe you, Ron?
just about 3 weeks of teasing.
I think just this bit is probably all.
Give it to me.
All right, Russell.
The reality is one of us was going to be right, one of us was going to be wrong. So someone was going to be sitting in this seat because
it's purely just that Flo took such a bold stance on it. Like,
and I applaud
it.
If I've learned anything from being one of the Android faithful, is you never commit in either direction with leaks. you always be open to it. So, but anyway, so Russell, what are your immediate thoughts when this announcement rolled out?
Yeah, so I mean, it really comes down to three things. The first, just because it's me, I love all the colors. I love how colorful they are. I'm really a big fan of the different looks there. That weirdly yellow Pro is probably the one that I'm going to grab. The second, Tensor, is really exciting. I think what we're going to see from this is not so much like raw processing power, but a kind of rebuke of the way that we think about benchmarks and stuff like that. Like, it's not going to be how hard this processor works to solve a task, but how many corners it can cut using AI and machine learning to get that task done, especially when it comes to things like photography and things like that. And then the third thing, we didn't hear a single thing about cellular radios. And so Google built its own processor. It took them 4 years to build this processor. They're very happy with this processor. Are they working with Qualcomm or MediaTek or who to do like the LTE radios, the 5G radios? We didn't hear anything about that. And for them to not say a word about it makes me a little uncomfortable, but it is still like super easy or early days. So it might not be a problem.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like this announcement was, I don't want to say wasn't complete, but it wasn't complete. Yeah, because it was mainly focused around what the chip can do. And here's an example of the application within the upcoming 6 Pro and all that sort of stuff. And what I do think is interesting is that knowing this stuff had leaked and knowing that the renders were out and people kind of had a sense of what was coming, you know, and we know the new version of Android is coming. Like I feel like this is building the momentum towards you know, like a big rollout later this year. And I know a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the speculation around a Pixel Foldable, which is absent in this.
Yeah, absent.
Right?
You're right.
So
maybe that's Google's one more thing. Google does the Pixel thing, but you know, Google's horrible at keeping secrets. So if there is a Pixel Foldable at some point, once you know Google's finalized on the promo, you know, images that they're going to use for the launch or announcement, if it is in fact a thing, we're going to hear about it in advance. But yeah, interesting that has been a rumored certainty, and yet you know we're not hearing anything about it now. But also we know that Google is good at kind of trickling these things out and spreading it out over time, right? Like right now is the announcement of the 6 and the 6 Pro, and very basic information about what the chip is going to do, because they want to create excitement around that. This has been a long time coming with Whitechapel in the rumor mill and everything. Like you said, Ron, Apple's been doing this, so there's a lot of attention to the fact that Google has kind of needed, or it would benefit Google a lot to take this stuff in-house and everything. And then somewhere down the line, you know, be it a month or whatever, we're going to have the next little drip of like, oh, and by the way, this other, you know, major thing. And who knows, maybe somewhere down the line, the Foldable comes out. I'm excited for this thing. I think it looks pretty darn hot. Like I like this thing.
It's kind of funny to compare the camera. Like the very first thing they say about the camera, the video camera part in particular, is that it is better than the thing Apple made last year.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, this phone will be coming out after the next iPhone. You know, from a timeline perspective. So bragging that it is better than the thing that people were buying last year might not be as good a thing as it sounds, you know, when we go to actually be able to order these things. It's still exciting. The video part of the camera was the only real part that Google's camera was even struggling a little bit on. So it is cool that they've placed a priority on that. It was just a weird bragging point to anytime a phone manufacturer says, hey, this phone is better than the thing you could buy last year is kind of a weird brag.
I mean, I suppose this year phone isn't out yet, or wait a minute, or am I getting twisted around? I'm losing track of my Apple knowledge. Has Apple have they announced their 2021 device yet?
At WWDC, didn't they? Or I forget.
Their next iPhone?
We won't get they've done their OS, but we won't get the hardware until October.
Okay. So the hardware comes later. So I mean, you know, right now they obviously they can't compare it against the upcoming hardware because they don't actually know. They can only really compare it against the hardware that actually exists. And I think it's a bold statement for them to say that, because you're right. As far as the camera system is concerned, the video has. I wouldn't say that my Pixel video is bad. It's just not as good as it could be. And so I would love to see an improvement there. But it's always a bold statement to compare it to anything on the market, especially comparing it to Apple's best, when Apple's kind of leading the charge in that regard.
Well, I'm glad you all like the new phone.
Well, what do you think, Flo? Because you know, when you saw the design, the leaked design, you bet against it. And I'm trying to remember, were you betting against it because you didn't believe it to be true, or were you betting against it because you truly hoped it wouldn't be this?
I truly hoped it wouldn't be this, just because I really like the style that the phones have been going lately, just these like light, thin little things. But at the same time, I haven't touched this thing. It doesn't technically, it's not in front of me. I haven't really experienced it, so I can't give it a full judgment just now. I do like the color
but you
scheme.
can judge a render. You could judge a leak.
Fair. I did judge a render. I did judge a leak, but
Now that you have the information,
it's like judging photos in Page Six or in the Daily Mail. It's just what's circulating. So, but this is a little close. I do have like this super wild errant theory that what if so they haven't announced who they're working with on the chip.
No.
What if it's Samsung?
I think that it is.
For the modem?
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I think that's given the partnership and given all the other stuff,
Android
and given also
Wear
that
as well.
The
Foldable
rumor. The foldable rumor came from the documents about people using Samsung's glass. So.
Yeah, I mean, Samsung's pretty cozy with Google right now. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Samsung needs Google for the Android tracked, though. That's the way it is. They need to be just kind of sold together.
And it benefits the entire industry for there to be competition with Qualcomm when it comes to networking equipment. Like that's just a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how. Hang on, I just quickly searched it, but according to Sam Mobile. They say Samsung is making the Google Tensor chip that could kill its phones.
Yeah.
So it could well be making the modem to go with it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's somebody else in the chat. Scooter X posted an article on 9 to 5 Google today, and Nikkei. Is it Nikkei?
Yeah.
Nikkei Asia. Suggesting exactly that Samsung is working with Google on this.
Yeah, I mean that's believable. I mean, Flo, you laid those breadcrumbs out, and that I mean, given the strategic partnership, and given the dominance, what that means about competition between Google and Samsung, the lines continue to blur, right? So,
okay, so then here we are with this, with the news that this new series of phones are coming out, that Google is boldly stating, like, we are going premium. This is everything that we've learned up until now has led to this moment. We feel comfortable and confident to head into the premium class. And it's going to be pricey, by the way. It's going to be expensive. I mean, of course, they didn't say these exact words, but this is kind of what they're alluding to, is like, we're bracing ourselves for paying for a more than $1,000 phone at this point, I think. Are you convinced that Google can take this seriously? Because they've even mentioned that they want to do a huge media push. And I don't know what huge media push actually translates to this Christmas, let's say. But is this the phone to take their Pixel efforts even more mainstream, to iPhone the Pixel?
Is it their last ditch effort?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Flo's not wrong, but also, like, mechanically, this year is going to be super interesting for people buying phones, because we've had a lot of people who've been at home for the last 16 months and their phones have been on chargers for a lot of that time, which means in a couple of months, when people start going back outside on a regular basis, they're going to notice that they really need to upgrade their phone soon, because their battery only lasts about half as long as it did before COVID. So I think we're going to see like a dramatic upswing in people upgrading phones this year, and Google's going to pull out all the stops, both because this is kind of the end of the road for them, and also because this is going to be the year where people are going to be trying something new, especially if they've folks who have had an iPhone for a while or have had a Samsung for a while and their battery just completely died on them. Having that viable alternative put in front of them could be a very good thing for Google.
Yeah, interesting. Hadn't thought about the whole phones on chargers more than normal thing. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's interesting stuff, and I can't wait. I am really looking forward to this. I'm happy to see that the leaks were accurate, just because I like the design more than anything. And I'm authentically interested and kind of excited to see what Google can do with its own chip on the device. If they've really created something to harness the power that we all know they have when it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning and all that stuff that's doing cool, like, magical things on devices and in the cloud and everything. If they actually created a chip that is designed for that, and and it does it well, like, I can only imagine it's going to do some really cool things over time. So I'm looking forward to it.